Luoyang was reborn as the Blue Star, but never thought that this world was full of strangeness. Fortunately, he has detective skills. Character. Luoyang natural skills. Cooking skills, 1 star, fate. All living beings, 1 star, you are a part of the world, small and ordinary, life script. 2 years and 13 classes, 5 star, supporting role, status, the soul curse is in effect. 125.47.28 seconds. What is the soul curse? Has one's life entered the countdown? What is this 5 star life script? Keywords of the novel. Strange resurrection. I can see the script of life without pop-ups, strange resurrection. I can see the complete text of the script of life. Download the full text, strange resurrection. I can see the latest chapters of the script of life. Chapter 1. 13 classes in 2 years. You are listening at novel full.audio. Chapter 1, 13 classes in 2 years, morning, Blue Star, Rencheng, Chaoyang High School. Yawning. Last night, Li Ming read a novel very late, which caused him to yawn incessantly as soon as he started his first class. Li Ming, who couldn't help feeling sleepy, simply lay down on the desk. If the teacher asks, just say that your body is uncomfortable. He had already figured out a reason for himself in advance in his heart. Buzz. Buzz. Suddenly, a faint vibration caught Li Ming's attention. Feeling the vibration of his phone in his pocket, Li Ming looked around nervously, realizing that no one around noticed. Li Ming quietly lowered his head and took out his phone to take a glance, smiling expert. I'm in the innermost compartment of the 3rd floor restroom, come and give me some paper. Hurry up. Upon seeing the Feishin message from his phone, Li Ming felt speechless. How could you forget to bring paper when going to the bathroom? It's really weird. Smiling expert. Come on. Come on, smiling expert. Quick. Quick, obviously. The followers are urging very urgently, with news one after another. Li Ming felt a bit helpless, then he gently lifted his head and glanced at the teacher on the podium. Take advantage of the teacher's turn to write on the blackboard. Li Ming quickly stood up, took a quick step, and then slipped out of the back door of the classroom. At this moment, it is class time. The corridor outside the classroom is very quiet. Surrounded only by the faint sound of lectures from various classes entering the corridor, Li Ming tiptoed to the very end of the 3rd floor corridor. The men's restroom. It's right here. Buzz. Buzz. Smiling expert. Have you come yet? Hurry up. Hurry up. Smiling expert. Quick. Quickly, the news of the urging from our close allies came again. Because this place is already far from the classroom, Li Ming is not afraid of being discovered by the teacher. He walked directly into the toilet and then shouted angrily. Here we go. What's the rush for? After entering the toilet, Li Ming walked straight to the last compartment, then reached out his right hand holding a toilet paper and knocked hard on the door. Bang bang. Open the door. I'm here to send you paper. Due to the continuous urging from his close allies, Li Ming clearly felt a hint of anger when he said this. However, a few seconds passed. Li Ming did not hear any response in the quiet toilet. It seems as if there is no one, only a faint sound of water flow. Faintly existing. What are you doing? Open the door. Li Ming shouted again and secretly increased the knocking force on the door. Bang bang. Creak. It seems that it's because Li Ming exerted too much force the door was suddenly knocked open. But inside the compartment. It's empty. Looking at the empty compartment, Li Ming was momentarily taken aback, then furrowed his brow slightly, muttering in his heart. Where did this person go? Immediately, Li Ming picked up his phone and asked his close friend through Feishin. Where have you been? I've already gone to the restroom. Buzz. Buzz. Soon. The vibration sound. resounded again. Smiling expert. I see you. Suddenly. In an empty compartment countless arms suddenly emerged, as black as ink. Next up. They grabbed tightly. Li Ming, who was stunned, dragged him hard into the compartment. Next up. With a loud bang. Inside the restroom, there was another loud, violent door closing sound. Then he returned to calmness, as if there was no one left at the same time. In Rencheng, an old urban area, in a room of a residential building. The weather outside the window is very gloomy, with thick dark clouds accumulating in the sky, making people feel very uneasy. Luoyang sighed at first, and then put the fried rice on the table. Buzz. Buzz. Suddenly. The phone on the dining table suddenly vibrated. The caller on the call is Teacher Wang, who is the homeroom teacher of Luoyang. Looking at the phone on the dining table, Luoyang's heart struggled slightly. After a few breaths, he still picked up his phone and slowly pressed the answer button. Hello, Teacher Wang. Luoyang, what's going on with you these past few days? You haven't come to class or come back to the dormitory, what's going on? Teacher Wang. I've encountered some trouble these past few days. You wait for me to handle it. I'll be back to school soon. You must come to class early tomorrow morning. Otherwise, let your guardian handle the dropout. I understand. Luoyang replied with a bitter expression on his face. At this moment, a busy tone had already arrived on the other end of the phone. Today is already the third day for Luoyang to come to this world. The uncle, who was originally in his 30s and was about to enter middle age in his previous life, suddenly changed to this 17-year-old body. At the beginning, Luoyang was still very happy. But who would have thought? This world is not simple. Overall, the blue star is very similar to the Earth from a previous life. It's just that the level of technology is slightly behind its predecessor. Smartphones were only released in the past 2 years, and now it is already Blue Star's year of 2020. At the national level, apart from changing its name to a country called Daxia, it is generally not much different from its past life. The real difference between the two worlds was discovered by Luoyang's golden finger. Yes. After arriving in this world, Luoyang discovered that he had a golden finger, similar to exploration. As long as he has a desire to explore someone or something around him. In his field of vision, a panel will appear. For example, character. Luoyang natural skills. Cooking skills, 1 star, destiny. All living beings, 1 star, a member of the world, small and ordinary, life script. Class 13 of the second year, 5 star, supporting role, status. The soul curse is in effect, countdown. 125.47.28 seconds, yes, this is the panel from Luoyang. At first glance, it looks very ordinary. The 1 star cooking skills are probably attributed to Luoyang's past life, where he often watched short videos to learn how to cook. But upon closer inspection, he couldn't help feeling anxious. What kind of ghost is the soul curse? What kind of world is this? I'm about to be enchanted. And what kind of ghost is this life script? The 13 classes in 2 years. Still 5 stars. The Chaoyang High School where Luoyang attended in his lifetime, in his second year, only had 12 classes in total. Where did class 13 come from? Is this a supernatural script? It is difficult for Luoyang, who is full of desire for survival, not to associate his life script with this enchanting curse. So, Luoyang skipped class during the 2 days of absenteeism. Luoyang watched helplessly as the countdown of the enchanting curse on the panel continued to decrease. He's like a drowning person, grabbing a life-saving straw. Find ways to give yourself a chance to live. Luoyang, who has read countless horror novels and movies in his past life. In these 2 days, after spending most of his wealth through his exploration skills. Finally, we found some objects that seemed slightly helpful. Item: a bottle of black dog blood, effective for 29 days, 18 hours, and 23 minutes, functioned exorcism, 1 star, anti-evil, 1 star, item, a bundle of red string rope, function, trapped spirit, 1 star, exorcism, 1 star, item, an aged peach wood axe, functioned exorcism, 1.5 stars, slaying spirit, 1.5 stars, and suppressing Shah, 1.5 stars, item, an ancestral pig killing knife stained with human blood, functioned exorcism, 2 stars, slaying spirit, 2 stars, and Sha Chi, 2 stars, item, a bottle of blessed holy water, with a shelf life of 156 days, 22 hours, and 18 minutes, functioned exorcism, 1.5 stars, demon destruction, 1.5 stars, and tranquility, 1.5 stars, item, a stack of yellow paper, function, anling, 1 star. The 6 things on the dining table have almost broken Luoyang's leg in the past 2 days. Even more so, after removing most of the inheritance left by his parents in this lifetime, there is only over 30,000 yuan left. Actually, everything else is fine. The most difficult thing to deal with is that pig-killing knife. The original owner of the pig-killing knife was a butcher. At first, he said he wouldn't sell anything, saying it was an ancestral treasure. He had fought on the battlefield with his grandfather in the early years, so he couldn't sell it even if he died. However, when Luoyang offered a price of 50,000 yuan, the butcher finally breathed a sigh of relief. This made Luoyang feel the power of money. It seems the same in any world. Having no money is absolutely impossible. But whether to say it or not, that pig-killing knife is not inferior to a 2-star item. After Luoyang grasped the knife, he instantly felt a sensation of blood boiling all over his body. Luoyang inferred that this is probably the effect of evil energy. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Liu Yishan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Liu Yishan. Looking at the 6 things on the table, Luoyang pondered for a moment, then reached out his hand and took out 2 sections of the red thread. One section was soaked with some black dog blood, and the other section was soaked with some holy water. Item, a section of red thread soaked in black dog blood, effective for 167 hours and 59 minutes, functioned exorcism, 1.5 stars, trapped spirit, 1.5 stars, and suppressing evil, 1.5 stars, item, a section of red thread soaked in holy water, effective time 167 hours and 59 minutes, functioned exorcism, 2 stars, trapped spirit, 2 stars, breaking demons, 1.5 stars, Anshin, 1.5 stars. The effect has been strengthened, but the timeliness has become shorter. Seeing 2 things in the changes on the panel, Luoyang had some thoughts anyway. He is quite satisfied. Although that small bottle of holy water costs over 8,000 yuan, it can be considered the second most expensive thing. But adding an additional item with a 2-star effect would at least give him an extra life-saving tool. Not enough. Not enough. Grasping the red line in his hand tightly, Luoyang whispered in his heart. The 5-star script introduction was like a big mountain, pressing hard on his heart. Inevitably, Luoyang must go to school and face that script directly. Because he dare not gamble. The countdown to that curse is over. He can only have a chance to find and lift the clue of that curse by going to school in person. However, before going to school, Luoyang plans to go to another place. After a moment, Luoyang reached out and put all the items on the table into his backpack. Fortunately, neither the pig-killing knife nor the peach-wood axe is very large in size. After taking out a portion of the books from the backpack, several things were smoothly stuffed in. Carrying a backpack with a strong sense of security, Luoyang slowly walked out of the house. After spending over 50 yuan on a taxi fare, Luoyang arrived at an antique market in Renqing City. He wants to come here and try to see if he can find some new equipment. Renqing is just a small 3rd-tier city. It is said to be an antique market, but in fact, it is just a street over 200 meters long. On both sides of the street, there are stalls displaying antiques. Walking on the street, Luoyang looked serious and carefully checked the items on every stall around him. Item, modern craft copper cauldron. Function, none. Item, calligraphy in painting from some years ago. Function, collection, 1 star. Item, modern craftsmanship. Sangsingui statue. However, unfortunately several booths down in a row, nothing was helpful to Luoyang, which made him somewhat disappointed. Suddenly, a booth not far ahead caught Luoyang's attention. This is a very small stall, with only a 1 meter square yellow cloth spread on the ground. In the center of the cloth is a bagua pattern, surrounded by terms such as naming, destiny assessment, and character testing. This is a fortune-telling booth. But what really caught Luoyang's attention? It's the owner of this stall, an old man who looks like he's in his 60s or 70s. Character: Liu Yishan. Natural skill: divination, 2 star, and spiritual studies, 2 star, destiny. A person who has passed through the underworld, 2 stars, using the body of a living person to speak for the deceased, life script. Flying to cross the border, 3 star, supporting role, life script. This is the first time Luoyang has seen a life script on someone else's panel besides himself. And judging from Liu Yishan's innate skills and destiny, his script, I'm afraid it's also a supernatural direction. Is this world full of strangeness? Is this a world built by countless horror films? For a moment, Luoyang's heart was filled with gloom, and at the same time as Luoyang was thinking to himself. Liu Yishan at the fortune-telling booth also noticed him. As Luoyang approached, Liu Yishan suddenly stood up. His old and weak body quickly stacked the yellow cloth spread out on the ground. Then he picked up the small stool he had just sat on and turned to leave. Seeing this scene, Luoyang quickly chased after him. The elderly stay for a moment. However, upon hearing Luoyang's call, Liu Yishan replied without hesitation. Sorry, it's closed today. Upon hearing this, Luoyang couldn't easily give up. He quickly ran a few steps forward and suddenly came closer to Liu Yishan. Old man, I really have an urgent matter. Don't be busy walking yet. Upon hearing Luoyang's words, Liu Yishan's gaze slowly fell on him. At this moment, there was clearly a hint of pity in Liu Yishan's gaze. Then, Liu Yishan let out a long sigh and slowly returned to Luoyang. Hey! Little brother. Let me be honest with you. I can't help you with the trouble you've encountered. Upon hearing these words, Luoyang's heart sank suddenly, but the next second. He still held some expectations, with a slightly bitter expression on his face, and asked Liu Yishan again. Old man, do you see something? Liu Yishan looked at the young man in front of him, who was only 16 or 17 years old. Seeing his bitter expression on his face, Liu Yishan finally felt a chill in his heart and gestured for Luoyang to follow him. Subsequently, the two walked through the bustling antique street and arrived at an outdoor pavilion. Walking outside the pavilion, Liu Yishan slowly stopped and then turned his head slowly to look at Luoyang. At this moment, Liu Yishan's weathered face was full of solemnity. I can sense the curse power on you. The source of that curse. It's terrifying. Even when I have a moment to think and calculate my thoughts. In my heart, there will be a feeling of impending disaster. I, Liu Yishan, have been a teacher for so many years, and this is the first time I have encountered such a situation. Little brother, it's not that I'm unwilling to help you. I'm also very scared. I'm afraid that this old bone of mine just threw it in. Upon hearing Liu Yishan's words, Luoyang suddenly felt a chill all over his body. You know, Liu Yishan himself is also a character in a 3-star script. And he's not an ordinary person, he's a fake yin-yang gentleman. So since it can make Liu Yishan so afraid of the curse, how terrifying is it? How big is the difference between a 3-star script and a 5-star script? Isn't it that I've just been revived and haven't experienced the coolness of a young life yet? For a moment, Luoyang's heart was filled with bitterness, and the next second, Luoyang quickly took out a bundle of 10,000 yuan bills from his bag, and then respectfully handed them over to Liu Yishan. Mr. Liu. Do I really have no way to survive? Upon seeing the money handed over by Luoyang, Liu Yishan did not immediately reach out to take it. He first furrowed his brow slightly, took a few slow steps forward, and secretly pondered. Looking at Liu Yishan in front of him, he had a serious expression on his face. The chill in Luoyang's heart is even stronger. After a few breaths, Liu Yishan slowly stopped and then turned his head to look at Luoyang, frowning tightly and saying, "There's another way. But I'm not sure either. Everything has to be determined by fate. What's the solution?" Upon hearing these words, a glimmer of hope rose in Luoyang's heart. Upon hearing Luoyang's inquiry, Liu Yishan's gaze slowly shifted towards the distance. "I heard that in the new urban area of Rencheng, there seems to be an expert." Expert? Upon hearing Liu Yishan's words, Luoyang quickly asked in confusion. "Yes. That's a master, nicknamed the Exorcist. I heard that he has advanced techniques and is particularly good at subduing demons and eliminating demons. But unfortunately, I haven't seen this expert before. And even if you find this expert, I don't know if this expert will actually help you." Speaking of which, Liu Yishan unconsciously let out a long sigh. Upon hearing Liu Yishan's words in Luoyang's heart, the hope that had just risen sank heavily again. The road ahead is confusing. After sighing in his heart, Luoyang forcefully suppressed his disappointment, then forced out a smile and handed the money to Liu Yishan again. "Anyway, thank you, Mr. Liu." Looking at the money in front of him, Liu Yishan seemed to struggle slightly in his heart. He hesitated for a long time before slowly reaching out to take it. "Hey, for the sake of life, I can't do without this worldly thing." Upon hearing Liu Yishan's sigh, Luoyang squeezed out a smile and replied, "I understand, then I'll leave first. Mr. Liu, thank you for your help." After speaking, Luoyang was about to turn around and leave. "Little brother. Remember. You only have 5 days. The curse cannot be lifted within 5 days. You are sure to die. Be careful." Looking at Luoyang's back, Liu Yishan still felt a bit uneasy and spoke a few words of advice again. Upon hearing Liu Yishan's reminder, Luoyang turned his head and nodded bitterly at him, then turned around again and left. Bang. Just in Luoyang, the moment you turn around. In the gloomy sky, a lightning bolt suddenly flashed across. The dazzling blue electric light instantly reflected on their faces. Compared to the sky shrouded in dark clouds, their figures appeared very small. A storm is about to come. Unfortunately. Unfortunately. There is a heart to save people, but there is no power to save them. Watching Luoyang leave, Liu Yishan unconsciously let out a long sigh. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Curses. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Curses. It's going to rain. Hurry up and close the stall. Old Wang, how are you doing today? Hey, don't mention it, not a single item has been sold. What's going on with you? Haha. I opened one, and it's not worth it today. Dripping raindrops slowly fell on his face, and Luoyang, whose heart was filled with gloom, didn't pay attention. He just quickened his pace slightly. Returning to the antique street, Luoyang was jogging while quickly inspecting the antiques on the nearby stalls. Due to the rain, many vendors are busy closing their stalls. So Luoyang, as long as you see that the star rating of the item is not high, quickly skip it. Suddenly, a yellowed book in the hand of a stall owner stopped Luoyang's footsteps. Item, an ancient book from the Republic of China. Period. Function, spirituality, 3-star, collection, 1.5 stars, boss, let me take a look at that book. Luoyang pointed at the boss and pointed to the ancient book in his hand. The stall owner is a farmer in his 40s. Upon hearing these words, he first looked up at Luoyang and then gently shook his head. It's raining heavily, I have to be busy packing up. You can come back tomorrow. Upon hearing this, Luoyang frowned slightly and spoke again. Boss, you let me take a look. If it's suitable, I'll take it directly. Upon hearing Luoyang's words, the boss looked up and down at him with some suspicion. After a few breaths, he hesitated slightly before handing over the book. Then hurry up and be careful not to get wet. Seeing the boss handing over the book, Luoyang quickly reached out to take it. This book is not thick, only a few dozen pages long. On the slightly faded cover, there are a few large characters written in traditional Chinese. Those years I was a master of yin and yang. This is a novel from the Republic of China era, very precious, please be careful. The stall owner seemed to have some doubts about Luoyang's financial resources, and while packing things, he reminded him with some unease. Upon hearing the boss's words, Luoyang didn't respond either. He simply reached out and flipped through ancient books, then casually asked a question. How does this book sell? 50,000. The boss gestured. 5,000 will be sold soon. Luoyang offered a refund. The boss shook his head as if he was not satisfied with the price. After a slight pause, the boss spoke again. At least 20,000. Upon hearing the boss's words, Luoyang hesitated for a moment before bargaining again. Let's each take a step back, let's settle for 10,000 at once. Upon hearing Luoyang's words, the boss watched as the rain grew heavier and heavier. Thinking that he hadn't opened yet, he gritted his teeth lightly. Sell. After some bargaining, this ancient book finally came into the hands of Luoyang. After the transaction was completed, Luoyang quickly put the book into his backpack, then waved and took a taxi, ready to go home. The rain is getting heavier and heavier. Getting into the taxi, Luoyang took a tissue and gently wiped the rain off his forehead. Watching the increasingly heavy rain outside the window, Luoyang's heart felt heavy. What a terrible curse it is that made Liu Yishan so afraid. Remembering the appearance of Liu Yishan just now. When he spoke, he trembled visibly, as if he had been frightened. From Liu Yishan's reaction, it can be seen that none of them are representing on Luoyang. That curse is terrifying. And as he mentioned, the exorcist. The new urban area is so big, where should we start? And the most crucial thing is still time. The countdown to the curse is getting shorter and shorter, and there is not much time left to use. Anyway, I have to go to school tomorrow. If you accidentally drop out of school, you won't be able to find any connections. And if I really drop out of school, I don't know if that curse will break out prematurely. At this moment, Luoyang's heart was full of entanglement. He knows it. The source of the curse is in school. That's right there, the non-existent class 13 in 2 years. So now Luoyang is very afraid of the school. He is not sure what kind of terror is waiting for him in school. If possible, he really wants to escape this city directly. But Luoyang dare not do this at all. Because he didn't know that if he took the initiative to change the plot, will it lead to the enchanting curse, erupting prematurely. In that case, whether Luoyang can survive or not will only depend on fate. Therefore, Luoyang must go to school once. Only by going to school can we find the clue to unravel the curse. This kind of entanglement makes Luoyang's heart very restless at this moment. The sky outside the window had completely darkened. There are few cars around, only the increasing rain, the generated water vapor, accompanied by taxis, and dim headlights moving forward. Feeling restless, Luoyang opened his backpack and decided to take a look at the ancient book he had just bought. Where's the book? However, as soon as he opened his backpack, Luoyang was stunned. The book is missing. He clearly put it in his backpack just now. Luoyang quickly and carefully flipped through it. And where are the props I brought with me? A pig-killing knife. A peachwood axe. Why are they all missing? Luoyang is confused. He simply flipped his backpack and completely collapsed onto the seat. Chinese, mathematics, chemistry, physics, politics, geography, how could it be? Amazed. All the things in Luoyang's backpack have become textbooks. He remembers clearly. When he came out, he deliberately took out some textbooks for small subjects. In an instant. A sudden chill came from Luoyang's spine in an instant. He suddenly remembered something, time. Time is not right either. I came out of home in the morning. At most now, in the afternoon. Outside the window. How could it be so dark outside the window? The sudden sense of fear made Luoyang's eyes widen instantly. Next up. Luoyang slowly extended his trembling hand and took out his phone from his pocket, and the time displayed above is 0.03. It's actually early morning now. Something's wrong. Absolutely not right. Pop pop. At this moment. Luoyang's heartbeat is like a bell and drum, jumping faster and faster. He trembled and reached out his hand, rolling up a slightly thicker textbook to make a temporary weapon. Then Luoyang spoke trembling and asked the driver in the driver's seat. Master. Master. How long will it take to arrive? When he said these words, Luoyang could clearly feel that his whole body was getting colder and colder. He clenched his left hand tightly. Stick your nails in the palm of your hand and stab them fiercely. I want to make myself less afraid. At the same time, Luoyang clenched tightly with his right hand, the weapon he had just made. As if that thing could bring him some sense of security. At this moment, 2 generations, nearly 40 years of life, Luoyang has never experienced such a suffocating sense of fear at this moment. Buzz. The piercing sound of brakes suddenly rang out. Here it is. Next up. A cold and emotionless voice came from the driver's seat. The driver slowly turned his head. Luoyang saw. What kind of face is that? On a face as if covered in cracks of burnt black slate, hanging 2 pitch black and deep voids. Replacing the eyes in an instant. Luoyang's heartbeat has reached its peak. He suddenly extended his left hand and opened the car door. At the same time, with the right hand, he took the weapon in his hand and greeted the driver's face. With a loud bang. Keep it tight. Luoyang seemed to have escaped and jumped off the car directly. Run. Running desperately. In 2 lifetimes, Luoyang has never run so hard before. In his mind, there is only one voice at this moment. Run. The farther you run, the better. Go to places with more people. Who? I don't know how long it has been running, but Luoyang can't run anymore. He weakly supported his knee, panting heavily. Whether it was sweat or rain on my body, everything mixed together. The surroundings were unusually quiet, except for Luoyang's own breathing. He couldn't hear any other sound. This place is very spacious, and with the hazy moonlight, Luoyang slowly lifted his head. A 5-story U-shaped building slowly caught Luoyang's eye. The building in front of Luoyang gives him an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Just a few breaths. Luoyang's pupils suddenly contracted rapidly. This is Chaoyang High School. This is Luoyang's school. The root of that curse. A chill instantly rushed into my heart. Luoyang's whole body was trembling violently from top to bottom. Dead set. I'm really dead set this time. Suppressing the fear in his heart, Luoyang took a deep breath. He wants to put in another fight. Make an effort to escape this place. However, as soon as Luoyang turned his head, just saw it. Countless faces. Silently staring at him, hundreds. No, it could be thousands. A face expressionless. A face full of cracks. Everyone is like the driver just now. My face is like a cracked, burnt black slate. They have no eyes. No pupils. The only thing that is consistent is they are all wearing the same clothes. That's school uniform. The school uniform of Chaoyang High School. Next second. They rushed towards Luoyang together. Soon, they gradually filled Luoyang's entire field of vision at the same time, their cracked faces pulled open the corners of their mouths together. I can't escape. You can't escape. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. The Undead. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The Undead. Luoyang suddenly sat up. Who? He was panting heavily, trembling all over his body. Noticing Luoyang's actions, the driver in the driver's seat turned around and glanced at him. The driver was a young man in his 30s. Seeing Luoyang panting heavily, he thought he was feeling suffocated and quickly spoke up to remind him. What's wrong, little brother? It's raining today and there's a bit of traffic jam, so I drove slowly. If you feel bored, you can open the car window a bit. Upon hearing the driver's words, Luoyang shook his head vigorously, then trembled and reached out his hand, opening the car window slightly. Suddenly, the cold wind mixed with water vapor suddenly hit Luoyang's face, calming his mind a bit. The heavy rain outside the car window is still pouring, and it is still day. It's just that the thick clouds in the sky are still there. Luoyang glanced at his phone, and the time displayed on it was 14:18. Then he opened his backpack again and carefully checked the contents inside. Realizing that everything was missing, Luoyang finally breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out to be a dream. Luoyang's heart slowly calmed down. Was that really just a simple dream just now? He had never dreamed of such a real and oppressive dream in his past life. Perhaps this dream was also caused by a curse. As soon as I thought of it, that curse seemed like a talisman. The haze in Luoyang's heart has become even more severe. Is the curse of 2 years and 13 classes just like the scene in a dream? No wonder Liu Yishan is so afraid. If he really is like in his dream. How many eerie things really exist in that school? Hundreds. Or thousands. Are there still living people? Thinking of this, for a moment, Luoyang felt a sense of regret in his heart for the decision to go to school tomorrow. 10 minutes later, Luoyang smoothly returned to his own residential area. After getting off the car, Luoyang propped up his pre-prepared umbrella and slowly walked towards his own direction. The community in Luoyang's home is an old and open-style community that was over 20 years ago. 20 or so 6-story red brick buildings make up this old-fashioned residential area, with the majority of elderly people taking care of themselves. Because it was raining at this moment, there were very few pedestrians in the community, and only a few of them were also holding umbrellas and hurriedly walking. Ouch! As soon as he walked downstairs to his own house, Luoyang saw a woman in her 30s who accidentally slipped not far ahead. No matter what, they are all neighbors. Seeing this scene, Luoyang was not indifferent. He quickly took a few steps and reached out to help the woman up. Thank you, little brother. You're welcome, it's all neighbors. After helping the woman up, Luoyang instinctively glanced at her. Women are not very beautiful. But she gives people a very seductive feeling. There was a seductive energy between her eyebrows, complemented by her sleek work attire, exuding a mature aura of being a senior sister. The only downside is that at this moment, the woman's face looks very pale and somewhat abnormal. Can I help you pick up the bag too? Luoyang slowly bent down again, ready to help the woman pick up the backpack that had fallen on the ground. No need. No need. I can do it myself. Seeing Luoyang's actions, the woman quickly walked forward, picked up her backpack, and then looked at Luoyang, squeezing out a smile. Little brother, sister's surname is Su, living in Unit 501, Unit 2. If there's a chance to come home and play, I'll leave first. After speaking, before Luoyang could reply, the woman quickly walked towards the unit door. Good. Luoyang smiled and responded, then watched the woman and gradually walked into the unit door. When the woman went upstairs, the smile on Luoyang's face disappeared instantly. The next second, he furrowed his brow slightly, the third one. Luoyang let out a light sigh in his heart. Character. Su Jiaojiao, natural skills. Singing, 1 star, destiny. All living beings, 1 star, a member of the world, small and ordinary, life script. The Undead, 2 star, protagonist, yes. On the woman just now, Luoyang once again saw the life script. And this Su Jiaojiao is also the protagonist in the script. The Undead. Feels like a supernatural direction again. However, if possible, one can actively participate and experience the eerie world. After all, it seems that this 2 star script is not as scary as a 5 star script. Starting from this script, trying to encounter the eerie for the first time may be safer. Looking at Su Jiaojiao's panel, Luoyang had a slight thought in his heart just then. Luoyang suddenly realized. At the bottom of Su Jiaojiao's life script, a new line of text gradually appeared. Plot overview. People die for wealth, birds die for food, true emotions have never been retained since ancient times, only money can warm people's hearts. 5 years ago, Su Jiaojiao, who worked as a singer in the nightclub, met Zhou Han. When I first met Su Jiaojiao, Zhou Han was deeply attracted by her. Su Jiaojiao is not very beautiful, nor is she very radiant. But when she smiled, it seemed like the person he loved the most when he was 17 years old, but now he is no longer the impoverished youth of the past. Naturally, Zhou Han launched an attack on Su Jiaojiao. Luxury hotels, international travel, as long as it's the expenses of 2 people together, Zhou Han is never stingy. But Zhou Han has never given anything valuable to Su Jiaojiao. Because he understands. When she has it, then he is no longer important. Does Su Jiaojiao like Zhou Han? He is almost 50 years old, bald, has a strong body odor, and his needs are always strange. However, even though these are things that Su Jiaojiao detests very much, none of them can hold up his wealth. Su Jiaojiao gradually fell in love with that feeling when she likes to order in a restaurant. She doesn't need to consider the price, just needs to consider whether she wants to eat. She doesn't need to consider expenses when traveling, she just needs to consider the convenience. She wants more. She doesn't have to consider the price when she wants to buy a bag, when buying a car, or when buying a house. In situations where each person takes what they need, half a year later, the 2 got married and she asked him to marry her. Zhou Han understood that it might be difficult for him to handle this, his wife, who is nearly 20 years younger than him. But it's okay, when he needs her, she's there, that's all. Su Jiaojiao finally has everything she wants. Whether it's a bag, car, house, or other luxury items, Zhou Han will do his best to satisfy her. However, people do not know how to be content. From a certain moment on, what Su Jiaojiao wanted became more and more. A year ago, when Su Jiaojiao met him, it was at a gathering of friends. LV Zheng. This is his name. He is so dazzling. So versatile. He really feels like when he was 17 years old, that foolish kid who pursued Su Jiaojiao. Told her to marry him. It's natural for her and him to be together. They indulge in extravagance and wine, they pledge their loyalty to each other. But as time passed, one person's expenses became the expenses of 2 people, and Su Jiaojiao's financial resources gradually became tense. She needs to find a way to get more financial resources. And Zhou Han seems to be a good target. Unfinished at the entrance of Unit 401, Unit 3. Luoyang slowly took out the key and opened the door. At the same time, he also finished reading the plot summary of The Undead. This plot summary has a broken chapter and still has unfinished parts to be continued. Looking at the unfinished synopsis of the plot, Luoyang was in the heart and reluctantly roast. However, although Luoyang did not see the full picture of the script for The Undead, but he already had a preliminary guess in his heart. Luoyang speculates that it is estimated that there should be a section of the plot summary on the panel of each protagonist in the plot. And obviously, From the plot summary, it can be seen that the script, the Undead. There are two of them. Or it could be the three main characters. The remaining plot summary should be on Liu Yishan and Zhou Han. Of course, if Zhou Han is still alive according to the description in the plot summary. Preliminary judgment by Luoyang. I guess Zhou Han most likely has already cooled down. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Past Events of Ancient Books, Part 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Past Events of Ancient Books, Part 1. If possible, one should actively participate in the script story of The Undead. Only in this way can I personally feel eerie. What exactly is going on? Also, by the way, could you make some extra money? After all, money is really not worth spending. Now there are less than 20,000 yuan left. Thinking of what had just happened, Luoyang thought to himself. Of course, before that, Luoyang still needs to go to school first. After returning home, Luoyang casually cooked a bag of instant noodles to fill his empty stomach. After eating, Luoyang sat on the sofa and started studying the ancient book he had just read. The entire ancient book was counted by Luoyang, and there are only about 30 pages in total. The content in the book is also entirely written in traditional Chinese characters. Luoyang can only use his phone to search and browse at the same time. My years as the yin-yang master. My name is Zhang Sanli, from Qingyuan Township, and I passed away at the age of 67. In the early years, in order to subdue demons and eliminate demons, I constantly overdrawn my essence and blood, resulting in a loss of health and a loss of longevity. It was bitter. I was born in 1872 and had little education. When I was young, I only attended private schools with children of the same age in the village for a few days. I am different from them. They have always wanted to go to high school and become famous in all directions. And for me, I am not interested in reading. Being able to recognize a few words and write a few articles is enough. Since childhood, I have been interested in the mythological stories among the storytellers in tea houses. I have also fantasized that one day, I will be able to wield a sword and ride the wind to eliminate demons from the world. For this reason, I have been waiting for my own, immortal fate. But it wasn't until I was 15 years old, when Xianyuan didn't come, but something big enough to change my entire life happened. That was 1887. I remember very clearly. Because that year, the entire Xia country was experiencing a severe drought. The land has dried up for thousands of miles, and the people are struggling to make a living. The same goes for Qingyuan Township. Fortunately, although my family is not wealthy, I still have some surplus food. 2 meals a day, 3 or 4 steamed buns, are still affordable to eat. But not every family, like my own, has surplus food. When people are hungry, they have to eat. Unable to eat, that person just wants to find a way to fill his stomach. The land has been dry for a long time, and every household wants to try digging underground water to irrigate the fields. But I never thought about it. This dug a big hole. The big cave is located at the foot of the Woniu mountain, with 2 or 3 people thick and thin at the entrance. It runs straight down and becomes more spacious as it goes deeper. Looking into the cave, the surface paint was pitch black and bottomless. This rural resident often talks nonsense when he has nothing to do every day. The big cave was rumored to have become the entrance of a big tomb after being embellished by the villagers. If a person is hungry, they can do anything. It has been like this since ancient times. There are already 4 or 5 idle, mischievous, lazy people in the village, led by Wang Er, who often gather together to brag and fart. One night, a few lazy people thought about it and realized that they would starve to death in this situation. They made up their minds to explore this big tomb and find some good items to come out of. If one can be found by chance, it can guarantee at least a year of worry-free drinking and meat. Late that night, a few people descended into this big tomb. Who would have thought 5 people have gone down here the next day, only one Wang heir came back. Moreover, Wang heir is also crazy. Shout excitedly when encountering people. There's a ghost. There's a ghost. 2 days later, Wang heir also died, choking himself to death. I still can't forget what Wang heir looked like before his death. He sat stiffly on the chair, his veins bulging in both hands, tightly gripping his neck. His eyes protruded, his face turned red, and he looked terrifying, as if he had seen something extremely terrifying. My master said that this was because I was young at that time and naturally had little courage. That's right, even after countless attempts to survive, I didn't have the same deep impression as I did at that time. The deaths of several lazy people have had a great impact on the villagers. After all, these few people before their death were also considered capable individuals who could make a living with a sharp edge and were bold and confident. What kind of big tomb is it? How terrifying is it? How could it make several capable people die inside? Even Wang heir is crazy. In earlier years, when facing jackals, wolves, tigers, and leopards, Wang heir had no intention. How could it be like this now? For a moment, the village was filled with rumors and gossip. Every night as soon as it gets dark, every household closes their doors tightly and goes to bed. The adults in the village are even more concerned about their children. Never allow any child to go to Woniu Mountain. Even adults can try not to go as much as possible. But in this situation, it's okay to spend 2 days a day. If these days are too long, people can't live every day with fear. The respected elderly people in the village discussed and decided to reprimand heavy money and look for an expert. And this expert, who is my master, is the only one left. Master, master. I miss you. 3 days later, the dusty master arrived in the village. The old Taoist, who appears to be in his 50s on the outside, should have a fairy-like demeanor and a natural way of life. But how could it be that I was tired from running around all the way, and my Taoist robe was already splashed with mud spots, even my beard was tied up? I still remember later, I told you with a smile that you didn't look like a virtuous expert at all. You were still smiling and telling me. This is my immortal spirit, you will understand when you grow up. Yeah, now I understand. We, the masters of yin and yang, have worked tirelessly for the people throughout our lives, sheltering them from wind and rain, which is the best, immortal spirit. The heavy gold in the village is a breeding pig, plus 50 pounds of white flour. It's ridiculous to say that this was already pieced together by the parents and fellow villagers of the whole village back then. I remember you said that back then. A person of practice doesn't care about these external things. They have 2 meals a day and bring me 5 pounds of dry food when they leave. Just keep it for the road to eat. Master. You are not honest. I know that your favorite is braised pork belly in brown sauce. Haha, you've always been like this. As the saying goes, monks do not lie. But you always say that you are not a monk, you are a person in the mortal world, a practitioner who shields the people from wind and rain. The actions of the master greatly moved the villagers in the village, and the elderly quickly asked the master if there were any other requirements. I still remember that day, master, you found me in the crowd and pointed with a smile. I want to take this kid as my apprentice, that's all. Since that day, I have been fortunate enough to become your disciple. Later on, you also said that you were not proficient in divination, but just had a sudden impulse and vaguely sensed that there was a destiny in Qingyuan Township. When you see me, you understand that this fate belongs to me. Master, actually my disciple has been confused to this day. Should you come to Qingyuan village or should you meet me? If you hadn't come to Qingyuan village, you wouldn't have lost 100 years of life here. The night my master took me as his disciple, he stayed at my house. That night, I was very excited. I talked a lot with my master and even said that my childhood dream was to become a fairy who could defeat demons and eliminate demons. I also asked my master if he was a fairy. Master answered that way at the time. Sonly, in today's world, the immortals and Buddhas have died, the turbid energy is in chaos, and the spiritual energy is about to be cut off. I'm just a struggling practitioner in the world. It wasn't until later that I understood the meaning of Master's words. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Past Events of Ancient Books, Part 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Past Events of Ancient Books, Part 2. The next day, just as it was dawn, Master went up Mount Woniu alone. It wasn't until noon that the Master returned with a serious expression on his face. That's also the first time I've seen a Master who has always been approachable, with such a serious side. Suddenly, as a teacher, one must draw a symbol of seclusion. During this period, do not let anyone in. The Master solemnly instructed me. I nodded in agreement. Immediately, like a soldier, he stood guard at the entrance of his Master's room without leaving a single step. It wasn't until it was completely dark that the Master walked out of the room. At that moment, I was stunned. Because my Master's appearance has greatly changed. Master's originally shiny black hair and beard have all turned gray-white. The appearance also changed to look like an old man about to be buried, with deep wrinkles on his face. I asked Master, how could this be? The Master said there's no need to be surprised, this is his original appearance. Later on, I found out that Master's Luoyang technique had reached the 3rd level of cultivation and should have a lifespan of 300 years, but that talisman cost him 100 years of longevity. Yuan, that red talisman jade order. Suddenly, are you brave enough? The Master didn't care about his old appearance and asked me with a smile. I first shook my head, paused slightly, and then nodded hesitantly. Master said again. Do you dare to go up Woniu Mountain with me? Master. Is there a demon in that tomb? I subconsciously asked my Master, after all, if it weren't for the evil spirits causing harm, how could Wang Er and the others have died so tragically? The Master shook his head. There are no evil spirits, and the bottom of that hole is not a tomb either. So what's down there? Door. A door that must never be opened. Master looked at me with a tone that had never been more serious before. Late that night, my Master and I arrived at the entrance of Woniu Mountain. Master took out 2 talismans, one yellow and one red, from his arms and handed them to me. Subsequently, the Master took out another string of large coins, strung together with red ropes, and circled the entrance of the cave, wrapping it around it. Suddenly, your success or failure determines my success or failure. Help me guard the entrance tonight no matter what. Don't let anything break this money line. This yellow talisman can protect your safety. Master solemnly told me. I nodded firmly. Immediately, he watched as his Master walked down the cave with a red talisman in his hand. Perhaps the heavens favored it. That night, the cave entrance was calm and there was nothing to disturb it. Until the next day when the rooster crowed, the elderly Master crawled out of the cave with a tired expression on his face. As soon as he crawled out, the Master's face covered in mud squeezed out a familiar and pleasant smile. Suddenly, how about Master staying with you for a few years? Okay. Of course, that's great. I am very happy. Because I think being with my Master every day gives me more time to learn skills. After returning home, my Master drew several yellow talismans and asked me to bring them to those who had touched Wang Er's body in the village. He also instructed them to wear the talismans close to their bodies for a year before they could take them off. Master asked the people from the village to completely fill the entrance with sand and soil, and this matter was finally settled. A few days later, I helped my Master build a thatched cottage near my house. In the days to come, my Master will live there. Since my Master moved into the thatched cottage, I have been practicing with him every day. My Master passed on all the knowledge he had learned throughout his life to me, and also shared his years of experience in slaying demons and eliminating them with me one by one. Day by day has passed soundly. As a teacher, there's nothing I can teach you anymore. After I die, remember to bury my body within 3 zhang of the entrance to Woniu Mountain. With my 3 layers of true Yang determination and the red talisman and jade decree, I may suppress that sect for more than 100 years. In the future, I will have to rely on you to break through this world on your own. It's becoming increasingly dangerous. But remember, as practitioners, we must protect the common people to ensure the safety of our side. Because we used to also be ordinary people. We must not forget our original intention. As a teacher, we entered at the age of 33. The path of cultivation. For 173 years. To eliminate 1,000 demons. To save all the people. Ha! This life is not in vain. This is the last sentence that my master said to me. In 1890, my master passed away. Xianshou is 206 years old. I have never forgotten my master's words. Yeah. Once upon a time, I was also a member of the common people. Fortunately, I was rescued by my master and managed to escape a disaster. From now on, it will be up to me to rescue more of the common people. In the spring of 1891, despite my dull aptitude, I finally completed the first level of True Yang Decision. After bidding farewell to my parents, I left Qingyuan Township and began my journey in the summer of 1891, passing through Wangjia village. I saw every household in the village with their doors tightly closed under the blue sky and white sun, staying indoors, so I asked for the reason. I learned that there is a small stream at the entrance of the village, which is dark red and has a strong smell of blood. Several people in the village are missing near the stream. After investigation, it was found that it was a water ghost who was about to turn into a vengeful soul. I drove the talisman to eliminate the water ghost, and also used the dispelling talisman to dispel the yin energy in the stream, saving several people. The people were grateful, lightly injured, and nurtured for more than a month. In the winter of 1891, heading north to the northeast, I met an unnamed mountain village at night and saw 10 blood-red lanterns floating in the air at the entrance of an old house in the village, surrounded by corpses and bones. After investigation, it was found that a demon was causing it. That demon was originally a spiritual monster who practiced with incense, fire, and spiritual power. But after years and months of devoid of incense and energy to worship, my cultivation did not progress and instead retreated. As a result, I developed evil thoughts and wanted to cultivate with the blood of others, which had already harmed the lives of several people. To save the people, I cast a talisman and fought against them until dawn, finally letting the demons be executed. But unfortunately, I had a strong luck with True Yang Ju, which resulted in a loss of 1 year's lifespan. I also had several claw marks left on my body by that demon, and I had been recuperating for more than half a year. In the autumn of 1892, returning to the south. Via in the spring of 1893. In 1894. In the summer of 1898, upon learning that his father was critically ill, he returned to his hometown to observe filial piety. In the spring of 1899, during the mourning period, he devoted himself to practicing True Yang Ju, and eventually reached the first level of enlightenment. Master, is my disciple's talent really as good as you said? My disciple's cultivation speed is very slow. In the spring of 1900, during the 3-year period of filial piety, I suddenly heard that a strange and mischievous neighboring village had caused damage to dozens of people's lives. My master once said, "Those of us who practice should provide shelter from the wind and rain for the people." Dad, my child is unfilial and I can't be filial to you anymore, so I went to the neighboring village, where dark clouds covered the sun and an eerie atmosphere filled the air. That small mountain village with less than 100 households has died or injured dozens of living beings, and the ghosts are about to turn into evil spirits. I fought against him day and night, with strong luck and a true Yang battle. I lost my life for 5 years and was critically injured, but in the end, I let the ghost of Li scatter. In the summer of 1902, after recovering from his injuries, he set off on a journey. In 1903. In the winter of 1907, my mother was critically ill and returned to her hometown to observe filial piety. My parents have passed away, and I have no more relatives in the world. In 1908. In the summer of 1922, the first layer of True Yang Ju was finally completed in 1923 in the spring of 1927. Passing through a small mountain village and taking in 2 dogs when I see this teenager, it feels like I have seen myself in my youth. Guzi is a wild child who doesn't know who his parents are. Coincidentally, I am also alone, so I asked him to follow my surname and name him Zhang Dekun. At the same time, he stayed in the mountain village and devoted himself to teaching Dekun in the winter of 1929. It was also heard that there was a strange situation in Lang County. As Dechuan's Luoyang technique was only a beginner and had not yet reached the first level of cultivation, he left it at home and went alone to eliminate the demon in the summer of 1931. The first layer of Dechuan's Luoyang technique was finally completed, and I felt a lot of peace of mind. He also reached the cultivation level I had when I went on a trip back then, so I took him on a trip together in the spring of 1932. In recent years, there have been more and more bizarre incidents across the country. Urgent matters require power, so I can only separate from Dekun and divide my troops into 2 paths to slay demons and eliminate them. In the summer of 1934, Dekun, who was seriously injured, returned home with bruises all over his body. Seeing Dechuan's appearance, I feel very uncomfortable in my heart. After all, Dekun is like my child. The only child, but Dekun paid no attention to the injury and smiled at me. "Master, it's not a loss, it saved 3 people. I don't know why, is it because I'm getting older? Why are your eyes so easily moist, master? Have you seen it? Your disciple grandson can also protect the people. He hasn't shamed you." In the summer of 1936, the first layer of my Luoyang decision was finally completed. I have a premonition that I will step into the second level within 3 years. Although I have lost more than 20 years of longevity in the early years of defeating demons, the first level of Luoyang Ju has 100 years of longevity. As long as I can break through the second level within 10 years, my longevity will increase to 200, and I can teach Dekun for decades more. Heaven has mercy. In the autumn of 1937, a Taoist friend whom I had known in my early years sent a letter. Zombies have been causing trouble in Rinjia town in the south, with hundreds of people killed and corpses scattered everywhere. Thousands of civilians are rushing to flee. I pondered deeply all night and ultimately did not bring Dekun with me, but went to the appointment alone. Master, did I do it right? In the spring of 1938, I returned and 7 Taoist friends jointly executed the demon. Only 2 of them survived. Sifle. That's not an ordinary zombie, it's more like a demon corpse. During the battle, I seemed to feel the breath of the door. Master, this is the end of my journey in the Luoyang technique. I drew a purple talisman for Do Mo Shi and Chang Yun Jin Yang Ju Shou Yuan. It's been less than a year now. In the winter of 1938, Dechuan's Luoyang Ju had already completed its first level. It is gratifying to see this scene on my deathbed. Dekun cried. It's the first time I've seen him cry so badly. It seems like I really can't bear to part with him. In Dechuan's life, there is only me as a family member. Master, when you left me back then, are you also as reluctant as I am now? In my entire life, I have practiced for 52 years, spanning the north and south of the Yangtze River, walking hundreds of thousands of miles, eliminating hundreds of demons, saving thousands of people, and running for the people all my life. Although compared to your achievements, it seems insignificant. But the disciple's early dreams may have been realized. The disciple has achieved wielding the sword and riding the wind, eliminating demons from the world. Master, do you think I have done well in my life? Welcome to the old-timers of this book. If you like this book, I hope it can be fully subscribed and supported. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Luoyang Technique. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Luoyang Technique. Luoyang gently closed the ancient book, then reached out his hand, rubbed the slightly moist corners of his eyes, and unconsciously let out a sigh. Who would have thought that reading an autobiography from the Republic of China would make him cry a few times? Ma Wei, Zhang Sanli, Zhang Dekun. The story of 3 generations, the inheritance of 3 generations. Their actions over those years made Luoyang understand. What is a true practitioner? What is the true immortal spirit? No matter how advanced one's cultivation may be, they always remember the identity of a person. Coming from the people of Li, feeding back to the people of Dawn, what a group of admirable seniors. Luoyang sighed in his heart. Looking at the entire biography, apart from the story, Luoyang also saw some knowledge about monsters. Spiritual creatures can be roughly divided into wandering souls, vengeful souls, fierce ghosts, ferocious spirits, and demonic spirits. Zhang Sanli has competed against the first 4 levels of monsters, except for the demon soul, which is only slightly mentioned in the biography. It is said that this kind of monster is a completely irrational evil spirit. They are completely dominated by eerie aura. Not for cultivation. Not for revenge. Not for flesh and blood. Slaughtering creatures is just like a machine cutting wheat, mechanically carried out. In addition to these, there are also demons, zombies, and demonic corpses. However, Luoyang didn't quite understand the level division of the other monsters. Of course, the most important thing is the door. That door that makes horses the only one that can only consume 100 years of life to suppress. What kind of door is it really? Is it the gate of hell? Luoyang's thoughts slowly withdrew suddenly. Luoyang noticed that on the back of the book, a spot soaked in rainwater revealed a faint golden hue. Is there a universe inside? Luoyang was pleasantly surprised and quickly studied the back cover of the ancient book carefully. Soon he realized that the back cover was indeed thicker than the front one. Obviously, there's something mixed inside. Luoyang held back the excitement in his heart and quickly found a paper cutting knife, carefully cutting it open from the edge of the cover. Sure enough, it can be cut open. The cover was slowly cut in half and soon revealed a bright golden hue. Upon seeing this, Luoyang quickly and cautiously took out the contents. Inside there are 2 golden pieces of paper and a stacked piece of paper inside. Item, yellow talisman, a talisman paper made by mixing brass and gold. Function, Na Qi, 2 stars. Item, Republic of China paper for recording knowledge. Function, practice method, 5. Star, spiritual studies, 2. Star. Seeing these 2 things, Luoyang instinctively used his exploration technique to take a glance, and at this glance, Luoyang was immediately excited and inexplicable. At this moment, he had a faint premonition. Subsequently, Luoyang suppressed his excitement and carefully opened the folded note. Suddenly, rows of small characters slowly entered Luoyang's eyes. I am fortunate to see the younger generation of my autobiography. If you discover something hidden inside, then you will be considered my named disciple. I just don't know if you're willing to recognize me, a master who has already been buried. The cultivation techniques recorded below are the foundation for my profession to settle down and establish myself. If you can practice successfully, may you be like me. Protect the people and guard one side. Riding the wind with a sword, dispelling demons in the world. The True Yang Technique Tuna Method. Sit still and concentrate, activate Yang Energy Medicinal Bath. Ginseng, Deer Antler, Goji Berries Forging Techniques. Diagrams, detailed explanation of martial arts. Exorcism Talisman. Picture, Breaking Spirit Talisman. Picture, Transforming Evil Talisman. Picture, Suppressing Evil Talisman. Picture, Yang Thunder Talisman. Picture, detailed explanation of seal script. Sure enough, it's really the True Yang technique. Upon seeing the technique on the paper, Luoyang was immediately overjoyed and quickly continued to read it. On that note, there were only over 1,000 words and a few pictures. In just 10 minutes, Luoyang finished reading everything. No wonder. No wonder. After reading the note, Luoyang couldn't help but sigh. At this moment, he has already understood the origin of the True Yang technique. I have to say, the only ancestor of this horse, he is truly a genius in heaven. In his early years, he originally practiced Taoist magic. But because the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was about to be cut off at that time, with the passage of time, Ma's only body of Taoist magic did not advance but retreated, gradually disappearing. So, Ma Weiwei spent 3 years combining ancient martial arts and Taoist techniques, and at the age of 40, he created the True Yang technique, a method of cultivating yang energy. Yes, the yang qi cultivation method. A method that can still be practiced in this modern world where spiritual energy has completely disappeared. Even if the spiritual energy has been cut off, everyone has yang energy. This True Yang technique is achieved by cultivating yang qi, condensing it into pure yang essence and blood, and then using pure yang essence and blood to draw symbols, making it a perfect substitute for magic. Moreover, most of the spiritual cultivation methods in ancient times did not involve physical cultivation. Even with the nourishment of heaven and earth's spiritual energy, based solely on physical cultivation, they were not as good as those ancient martial arts practitioners. But, True Yang Ju is completely different. It is a combination of physical and yang cultivation, independent yet mutually reinforcing. While practicing physical cultivation, use the technique of breathing to gather yang energy. The stronger the practitioner's physical body, the more vigorous the yang energy. According to Ma's only imagination, True Yang Ju has a total of 5 layers, and each layer will significantly increase the physical strength and yang energy of practitioners. At the same time, each layer will increase the practitioner's lifespan by 100 years. Continuing on to the 5th level of the True Yang technique, achieve a perfect physical state without leaking golden body. 500 years of lifespan. Unfortunately, even Ma, the only founder, was only able to reach the level of a 3rd level of success. I saw an introduction to the cultivation of the True Yang technique. Luoyang finally understood why Master Zhang Sanli and senior brother Zhang Dechuan's cultivation speed was so slow. Yes, Luoyang is preparing to recognize this master. Originally, he didn't know how long he could live, but obtaining this True Yang technique was already considered a heavenly blessing. Zhang Sanli has shown him the grace of spreading the Dharma. Moreover, Ma has only 3 generations of ancestors and grandchildren, and can definitely be considered the most upright type of cultivator. Luoyang is willing to establish this relationship with these seniors. Even if this relationship is useless. But at least in Luoyang's heart, he is willing to admit it and feels honored. There is actually another method to accelerate cultivation in the True Yang technique. That's a medicinal bath. In the pool of the medicinal bath, using the breathing method of the True Yang technique can increase the condensing speed of pure yang essence by tens to hundreds of times. In the prescription of medicinal bathing, there are over 30 types of medicinal herbs with extremely strong yang energy, and the longer the year, the better the effect. However, even low-end medicinal herbs, a few of them are still valuable. In the era of my master and senior brother, even eating meat was considered a luxurious behavior. How could they have any extra money to take this kind of medicinal bath? No wonder. No wonder. Suddenly. In Luoyang's heart, he deeply respects the 3 ancestors and grandchildren of Zhang Sanli. Because both themselves and their disciples urgently need money to accelerate their cultivation. But they have never earned any unjust wealth. Even if the common people voluntarily send it off, they mostly refuse verbally. Should they be said to be foolish or pedantic? No. Actually, they're not stupid at all. Just because they understand. That era was really too difficult. The money they spend on a medicinal bath could be for a poor family, the entire family's life and fortune. How could they accept the lifelong goal of protecting the people? What a respectable group of people. In addition to Zhenyang Ju, there were also some introductions to the seal script and 5 common painting techniques recorded on that note. Although there are only 5 painting methods, it doesn't matter. Because as long as you practice the True Yang technique and learn the painting techniques of other talismans and seals in the future, you can also directly use pure yang essence blood to draw. Fu Zhuan is a carrier of magical power. Of course. According to the true yang technique, it can be considered as the carrier of inheriting yang energy. So, material is very important, and the quality of the material directly affects the upper limit of yang energy that the seal script can withstand, as well as the validity period of the seal script. Taking the most common exorcism talisman as an example, it can actually be drawn on A4 paper and even have a certain effect. But this effect is much worse than what was actually drawn with rune paper. According to different materials, talismans can be roughly divided into 3 levels. Yellow talismans, purple talismans, and red talismans. The yellow talismans are the 2 pieces that were sandwiched inside the cover of the ancient book, made by mixing brass and a small amount of gold with paper. Although it is called rune paper, the feel to the touch is actually more like a thin metal sheet. And the purple and red talismans, as there is no physical object, Luoyang also does not know what material they are made of. However, recalling the records in biographies, whether it was the purple talisman used by the master or the red talisman used by the master's ancestor, it seems that they all have a far greater effect than yellow talismans. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Invisible People. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Invisible People Practice. You must get started as soon as possible. Maybe, this 5-star true yang technique is my only way of survival. Luoyang is determined in his heart. This method is likely his greatest hope for lifting the curse. At this point, Luoyang raised his head and glanced at time. The wall clock shows that it is already after 5 p.m. If you go to the pharmacy now, maybe you can still buy medicinal bath materials. At this moment, Luoyang is already a bit impatient. Time waits for no one. He doesn't want to waste even a minute or a second. Due to financial constraints, Luoyang pondered for a moment before picking up his phone and studying the app for a while. 380 loan, fast borrowing, low interest, your loyal helper. When you are short of money, it is friends who can give you 2,000 yuan. It is relatives who can give you 5,000 yuan. It is brothers and sisters who can give you 20,000 yuan. It is parents who can give you 50,000 yuan. But it is only me who can give you 200,000 yuan. Hurry down. Ask me for money. The dream person borrows money from app. At present, Luoyang can only think of taking out small loans. As for the interest, he's living is a problem now. How could he care so much? Everything now must prioritize life preservation. Let's talk about it later. After a moment, Luoyang, who had successfully taken out a few small loans, hurriedly walked out of the house at the same time. Unit 501. Su Jiaojiao has been restless these days. She always feels like someone behind her has been secretly peeping at her, whether it's on crowded streets, in crowded shopping malls, or in sparsely populated alleys. This feeling of being peeped at has always existed. But every time she turned around to search, she found nothing. The long-standing sense of prying has made Su Jiaojiao feel a bit nervous. For this reason, she deliberately left her own home and moved to the old-fashioned 50-square-meter apartment of Lvzheng. Because Su Jiaojiao's home is a duplex of over 200 square meters. That kind of spacious and quiet environment would actually make her feel even more uneasy. Is this what the elderly say? Not to do anything wrong, not to be afraid of knocking on the door. No. No. It's probably because I've been under too much pressure these past few days and I'm a bit too nervous. Su Jiaojiao was comforting herself in her heart. Today is the same. Su Jiaojiao, who fell downstairs, hurriedly walked into the bathroom as soon as she went upstairs, wanting to take a good shower and wash away the mud all over. But just as she was about to squeeze out shampoo and lower her head to knead her hair in the living room, suddenly footsteps sounded. Tap. Tap. The sound was very abrupt, causing Su Jiaojiao's body to suddenly stagnate. There was clearly no sound of the door opening, so it was impossible for LV Zheng to have returned. Who's outside? Su Jiaojiao, feeling nervous, suppressed the burning sensation of shampoo and opened her eyes slightly, shouting loudly towards the living room outside the restroom. However, no one responded. Is it the residents upstairs or downstairs? Su Jiaojiao thought to herself. The sound insulation of this old house is indeed not very good. Sometimes the sounds from upstairs and downstairs can be mistaken for those from the same floor, which is completely possible. Soon, Su Jiaojiao's eyes once again felt a strong discomfort. The discomfort in her body forced her to turn on the faucet and continue washing her head. Shua. Suddenly, Su Jiaojiao, rubbing her hair, suddenly felt a strand of her hair. Someone touched it. Suddenly, Su Jiaojiao's body instantly felt a chill. Illusions. They're all illusions. Su Jiaojiao, trembling slightly, is giving herself a boost in her heart. At this moment, she is vigorously rubbing her eyes, wanting to quickly wash away the discomfort. However, a few breaths past Su Jiaojiao's discomfort in her eyes did not improve. Damn it! How come this tattered shampoo is so difficult to wash? Su Jiaojiao took a light sip in her heart, then nervously and quickly rubbed her hair. Shua! Suddenly, Su Jiaojiao once again felt that her hair had been touched by someone. And this is not over yet. The next second, Su Jiaojiao will feel suddenly, a gentle breeze blew over her forehead. That feeling was like there was a person standing opposite her, blowing air on her forehead. In an instant, Su Jiaojiao's whole body was instantly covered in dense goosebumps. Next up, Su Jiaojiao trembled and reached out her hand, feeling the darkness to find the towel beside her. She picked it up and vigorously wiped her eyes. In just a few seconds the chill that seeps into the heart makes Su Jiaojiao feel like a century has passed. After a few breaths, the sharp pain in her eyes slowly subsided. The next second, Su Jiaojiao quickly opened her eyes and scanned the surroundings with her gaze following the trend. However, nothing. There's nothing around. In the quiet bathroom, apart from Su Jiaojiao's faint breathing, there was nothing else. At this moment, Su Jiaojiao's body was unconsciously and violently trembling. She is no longer in the mood to continue taking a shower. After a few breaths, Su Jiaojiao hurriedly wiped away the water stains on her body, then walked out of the bathroom and quickly walked towards the bedroom. After entering the bedroom, there was a loud bang. Su Jiaojiao forcefully closed the door and then operated the remote control to turn on the TV. After a few breaths, I heard actors speaking on TV. The fear in Su Jiaojiao's heart only slightly subsided. The bedroom of this old-fashioned suite is very small, only about 10 square meters. In this narrow and panoramic view of the entire room, Su Jiaojiao's heart was filled with a slight sense of security. Lie in bed and watch TV. Su Jiaojiao's tense nerves finally relaxed a bit. But when alone, fear is inevitable. At this moment, even a slight disturbance can startle Su Jiaojiao. Her eyes kept scrutinizing everything in the room. A quiet wardrobe. The gap under the computer desk, the corner behind me. The coat hanger hanging. She's afraid. She's afraid of somewhere. Suddenly, something. After a moment, Su Jiaojiao, feeling nervous, hesitated for a moment. Then she slowly picked up her phone and dialed a number. Hello, Jiaojiao. After the phone was connected, a very magnetic male voice quickly came from the other end. Liu Yishan. When will you be back? Su Jiaojiao spoke slowly and said to Liu Yishan on the other end of the phone. Her voice visibly trembled. Because Su Jiaojiao feels that at this moment, she really needs the company of the other party. Around 5 or 6 o'clock, I'm still talking to Lawyer Chen. You know, there are many details that we have to touch upon. On the other end of the phone, Liu Yishan's voice appeared somewhat helpless. Okay then, come back as soon as you finish talking. I'm a bit scared. Upon hearing L.V. Zheng's voice, Su Jiaojiao couldn't help but show weakness at this moment. It's been many years, hasn't it? She has never been like this before, afraid. What's there to be afraid of? You just haven't slept well lately. It's causing some mental exhaustion. Take a good night's sleep, or give your best friend a call to talk to. I'll be back in a little while, let's not talk for now. L.V. Zheng simply comforted Su Jiaojiao and then hung up the phone directly. Best friend. Upon hearing the busy sound on the other end of the phone, Su Jiaojiao silently reached out her hand and scratched the phone's contact list. How long has it been since her best friend last contacted? It seems like 5 years ago. Since her marriage to Zhou Han, Su Jiaojiao has completely lost contact with her former sisters. I don't have any more girlfriends now. Thinking of the past, Su Jiaojiao sighed with a sigh on her face. At present, she can only watch dramas. Perhaps it was because she caught a cold on her way home. After watching for a while, Su Jiaojiao unconsciously closed her eyes. Black. Such a dark place. Where is this? The ground, sky, and surroundings are all pitch black. Where Su Jiaojiao's gaze could reach, there was only endless darkness and depth. She is very nervous at this moment. The place around her makes her feel very uneasy. She ran forward with all her might. Jiaojiao. Jiaojiao. Suddenly, a gloomy voice slowly came from behind Su Jiaojiao in the deep and dark distance. Su Jiaojiao is not sure where this voice comes from. But at this moment, she is very scared. Very afraid of this voice. The source of that sound is like a demon that has existed for countless years. Su Jiaojiao could only run forward with all her might. Run with all your strength and grit your teeth. Jiaojiao. Jiaojiao. However, over time soon, the terrifying sound is getting closer and closer. Now, it seems like it has been stuck behind Su Jiaojiao. She even has a feeling. The person who spoke was right beside her ear at this moment, and it seems that she can feel it all around her neck. The wind that comes with that person's speech, that wind. Who quickly spread from her neck all over her body. Shua. Suddenly, Su Jiaojiao's neck suddenly felt a sensation, inexplicably touching. It's like there is a cold and piercing hand touched her body. Suddenly, the piercing chill instantly spread throughout her body. The extreme fear made Su Jiaojiao shout loudly. Ah ah ah. Half asleep and half awake, Su Jiaojiao's eyes opened slightly. The familiar room reappeared in front of me. Su Jiaojiao suddenly realized she had a nightmare just now. At this point, Su Jiaojiao finally breathed a sigh of relief. Suddenly, Su Jiaojiao realized at this moment, she is being embraced by someone. A pair of powerful hands were quietly resting on her lower abdomen. Upon seeing this, Su Jiaojiao slowly extended her small hand and gently grasped the secure, big hand, while unconsciously feeling a lot of relief in her heart. Liu Yishan has returned. Su Jiaojiao has already realized in a safe environment. Soon after, another wave of drowsiness hit, and Su Jiaojiao fell asleep again. I don't know how long it took until Su Jiaojiao woke up again. The idol drama on the TV is still playing. The sound quietly. Then Su Jiaojiao lifted her head slightly and glanced out the window. I saw that the sky outside the window had completely darkened. At this moment, there was only Su Jiaojiao on the bed. Liu Yishan. Su Jiaojiao lazily stretched out and then shouted towards the living room. However, a few breaths passed in the living room. But no one answered. Seeing this, Su Jiaojiao picked up her phone at the head of the bed with some confusion, gently walked out of the bed, and then shouted again at a higher volume. LV Zheng. LV Zheng. However, there was still no response. After a few breaths, Su Jiaojiao slowly walked into the pitch-black living room. She felt the darkness and found the switch for the living room light, Pada. As the key was pressed, the dazzling light instantly lit up. But where Su Jiaojiao's gaze reached, the entire living room is empty. Even the small bedroom with an open door next to it was quiet at this moment. Discovering that there was no one in the room, Su Jiaojiao suddenly picked up her phone in anger, found the nearest contact person, and dialed directly. "Hello, Jiaojiao. Where have you been again? Where can I go? I'm still with Lawyer Chen. I might have to go back later today. You can order some takeout yourself. What's my name? Why? Wait. You. Didn't you go home just now? What kind of home are you going back to? I haven't finished my work yet. Liu Yishan didn't actually come home. He hasn't come back yet. So. Who was the person who just hugged me?" In an instant, a cold and extreme chill spread from Su Jiaojiao's spine to her whole body in an instant. Ah 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 ah. The next second, Su Jiaojiao screamed at the top of her lungs. At the same time, she opened the door next to her and, wearing pajamas, flew out like a fly. She dare not stay in this room for even a second. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Proactive Attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Proactive Attack. Due to a high degree of fear, Su Jiaojiao even forgot to put on her shoes and ran downstairs barefoot. The only good thing is that the heavy rain outside has stopped by now, so Su Jiaojiao won't be drenched in soup. Who? Stepping out of the unit door, Su Jiaojiao gasped for breath loudly, her chest heaving violently, and her gaze wandering around. She soon discovered that there were already many elderly people coming out to cool off in the community at night. Seeing the presence of a living person really eased Su Jiaojiao's sense of fear in her heart. Jiaojiao. What's going on, Jiaojiao? Suddenly, in Su Jiaojiao's phone, LV Zheng's shout rang out again. At this moment, LV Zheng is in a fog. He didn't understand why Su Jiaojiao suddenly shouted just now, and then came a clanging sound of going downstairs. Upon hearing LV Zheng's voice, Su Jiaojiao slowly regained her senses. Then, unconsciously, she took a deep breath and gently raised her phone to her ear. "LV Zheng, come back quickly. I'm downstairs from your house." "What does it mean to be downstairs from my house?" Upon hearing Su Jiaojiao's words, LV Zheng was somewhat puzzled. "I'm currently wearing pajamas, barefoot, staying downstairs from your house. It's very cold outside, come back quickly." When she said these words, Su Jiaojiao felt a little annoyed. She doesn't understand why LV Zheng doesn't understand her so much now. She has already said that she stayed downstairs alone and also mentioned that it was very cold outside. Can't he even understand such a simple meaning? Su Jiaojiao is very speechless. I don't know why, but now LV Zheng feels a bit annoyed. Why can't he just come back without hesitation? "Jiaojiao, can you stop getting nervous? I'm still chatting with Lawyer Chen. I won't be able to go back until late. Hurry up and stay upstairs, don't catch a cold." Upon hearing that Su Jiaojiao was being mischievous, LV Zheng replied with a helpless expression on his face. Liu Yishan couldn't understand. How could Su Jiaojiao, who has always been mature and sensible, suddenly become like a little girl who has just entered society? Is Aunt here? Am I going crazy? Upon hearing LV Zheng's words, Su Jiaojiao instantly widened her eyes and unconsciously increased her voice. She didn't notice that at this moment, some elderly people in the community who were cooling off were curiously looking towards her. Perhaps they are also wondering. Is this little girl arguing? Young people nowadays. After a few breaths, Su Jiaojiao suppressed her anger and spoke in a deep voice to LV Zheng on the other end of the phone. LV Zheng. I'll make it clear to you, come back soon. I'll only give you half an hour. If I can't see you in half an hour, then let's call it a day. After speaking, without waiting for LV Zheng to reply, Su Jiaojiao hung up the phone directly. Hello. Hello. Damn it. What the hell is he? Upon hearing the busy sound on the other end of the phone, Liu angrily slammed his phone. Bang! He was also a bit annoyed by Su Jiaojiao. What is she playing with? What is more important at the moment, isn't she clear about it herself? What an idiot woman. But just thinking about what Su Jiaojiao said earlier, if we really end up with her now, all the efforts of Liu over the past year have been in vain. Damn woman. For a moment, Liu, who was originally a sunny, handsome and fresh-meat figure, unconsciously showed a hint of malice in his eyes, and at the same time as Su Jiaojiao and Liu were arguing. Carrying 2 bags of medicinal herbs in his hand, Luoyang slowly returned to his own community. And as soon as Luoyang returned, he heard the cries of women downstairs from his house. He was a little curious, was it a couple arguing? Then he followed the sound and looked towards the source. Surprisingly, it was her. Luoyang quickly noticed Su Jiaojiao downstairs, dressed in pajamas and barefoot, staring blankly while doing something. Her panel has changed. Character. Su Jiaojiao, natural skills. Singing, 1 star, destiny. All living beings, 1 star, a member of the world, small and ordinary, life script. The Undead, 2 star, protagonist, plot summary. Status, collision Gui. Yang Qi is weak, and Gui Qi is entangled in the body. Did you hit the jackpot? This may be an opportunity. Perhaps, through her, I can gain a preliminary understanding of the strangeness. Of course. You can also give it a try. See if you can make some money by the way. Watching the changes on Su Jiaojiao's panel, Luoyang felt lost in thought. In fact, in the life experiences of the group of masters and ancestors in Luoyang, it is rare to earn money from the common people. Because the people of that era were extremely difficult, and there were many people who starved to death every year. Sometimes seeking wealth is even equivalent to killing someone. But now it's different. In the era of Luoyang, collecting some money appropriately would not make the other party unable to even afford food. Not to mention Su Jiaojiao, such a person who doesn't need money. There's no way. Currently, Luoyang really needs money too much. He must live on. And with money, he can purchase more medicinal herbs and increase his chances of survival. Thinking of this, Luoyang pondered for a moment before slowly walking towards Su Jiaojiao. Miss Su, it seems like you're in trouble. Walking up to Su Jiaojiao, Luoyang directly aimed at her and said straightforwardly. Upon hearing the voice behind her, Su Jiaojiao instinctively turned her head, and then she saw Luoyang behind her. Soon she remembered. This is the boy she saw in the afternoon. Thinking of what Luoyang had just said, Su Jiaojiao instinctively looked up and down, then revealed a bitter smile on her appearance. I do look like I'm in trouble now. Upon hearing Su Jiaojiao's words, Luoyang first placed the bag in his hand on the ground, and then continued speaking to her. Can you tell me, maybe I can help you? Upon hearing Luoyang's words, Su Jiaojiao was slightly surprised and looked up and down at Luoyang, a bit handsome. But very young. Very immature. Looking at Luoyang's young and somewhat exaggerated face, Su Jiaojiao felt a bit amused. And the next second, she said to Luoyang with a hint of helplessness. Little brother, your kindness is well received, sister. But I'm afraid you can't help me with the trouble I've encountered. Sister feels very relieved that you have this heart. Go home early, it's already quite late. Upon hearing Su Jiaojiao's words, Luoyang first chuckled lightly, then shrugged lightly towards her. Let's talk about it, Sister Su. Maybe I can just solve your problem. Upon hearing Luoyang's words, Su Jiaojiao was even more surprised. Why is this little boy so enthusiastic? Is he interested in me? As a woman, the only thing that Su Jiaojiao can immediately associate with is Luoyang's purpose. Speaking of this, the next second, Su Jiaojiao deliberately said with a stern face to Luoyang. Little brother, if you want to try a sibling relationship, sister may not be suitable. Because my sister is already married, you don't have to waste your time on me anymore. Hurry up and go home. Upon hearing Su Jiaojiao's words, Luoyang suddenly felt very speechless. This Su Jiaojiao can quite associate with. But Luoyang also realized it. His actions just now seemed a bit too enthusiastic. After all, the old saying goes well. Be attentive to nothing, either treacherous or stolen. So it makes sense for Su Jiaojiao to misunderstand him. It seems that in order to take the initiative, it's not enough for the emperor to rush. We still need to pay attention to some methods. After a moment of contemplation in my heart suddenly, Luoyang took a sudden step forward. As Luoyang took this step, there was already less than half a meter between him and Su Jiaojiao. Luoyang's sudden action made Su Jiaojiao feel a little nervous. For a while I saw her fair little feet unconsciously rubbing against the back on the other side. Luoyang did not pay attention to Su Jiaojiao's actions. At this moment, Luoyang was frowning tightly, with a solemn expression on his face. And the next second, he lowered his voice and said solemnly to Su Jiaojiao. Miss Su. To be honest with you, you are now haunted by strange things. If it's not resolved, it's likely to be even more troublesome later on. In an instant. Hear Luoyang's words. Although Su Jiaojiao may still appear calm on the surface, deep down in her heart, there have been towering waves. Strange entanglement. Strange entanglement. If what he said is true. So all the things I've encountered these days. And those terrible experiences just now. Are they all due to something eerie happening? However, despite her inexplicable shock, Su Jiaojiao still couldn't fully trust a big boy who had only seen him once. And the next second, Su Jiaojiao held back the shock in her heart and asked Luoyang, pretending to be calm. Strange entanglement. Why do you say that? Upon hearing Su Jiaojiao's words, I looked at her current expression. Luoyang suddenly had a clear idea. I think she has already encountered some supernatural events, so now she is somewhat skeptical. Thinking of this, Luoyang quickly frowned and explained seriously to Su Jiaojiao. Miss Su, meeting each other is fate. We are like old friends at first sight, so I won't hide it from you either. I was born with yin and yang eyes, and a few years ago, I sought out a famous master to practice. Now it has been quite some time. The reason why I say you are haunted by eerie things is because I can clearly see now, Sister Su, that your yang energy is very weak. And now you are also full of eerie aura. When he said these words, Luoyang's face showed solemnity. At this moment, Luoyang is still unclear. In fact, the half-truth and half-falsehood he made up is really right. If there really are people with yin and yang eyes here at this moment, then you can clearly see that the yang energy on Su Jiaojiao's body is noticeably dimmer compared to ordinary people. And on Su Jiaojiao's body, there are occasional black gases rising up. This black gas is eerie. However, the eerie aura on Su Jiaojiao's body is actually very weak. It's not as exaggerated as Luoyang said, covered in eerie aura all over. If there really is that kind of person, it's probably their life, only a few seconds left. But no matter what. At least Luoyang's statement sounds quite intimidating. It completely shook Su Jiaojiao. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. The Beginning of Terror. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. The Beginning of Terror. Am I now filled with eerie aura? Luoyang's words made Su Jiaojiao shudder a bit. She immediately remembered her recent experiences, that elusive, peeping sensation, the footsteps in the living room, the hair tips touched while washing hair. As soon as she thought of those, Su Jiaojiao felt that she was getting colder and colder unconsciously. What should I do now? Looking at Luoyang with a serious expression in front of her, Su Jiaojiao hesitated slightly and asked. At this moment, she has already believed some of Luoyang's words. Upon hearing Su Jiaojiao's inquiry, Luoyang pondered for a moment, then gently opened his backpack and took out the red thread soaked in black dog blood. Immediately afterwards, Luoyang handed the red line directly to Su Jiaojiao. This red line, Sister Su, you can usually carry it close to your body. When sleeping, remember to use this red line to surround you. This will have some effect. In fact, Luoyang is not very clear whether the red line of this 1.5-star exorcism effect will actually have an effect on Su Jiaojiao. So this can also be considered his attempt. Like this red line, Luoyang can make many at any time. Is it better for Su Jiaojiao to test the effect of the red line on his behalf than for him to try it himself? After a few breaths, Su Jiaojiao slowly took the red line with some suspicion. At the same time, she looked at Luoyang with a hint of confusion in her eyes. Did you give me this red line for free? Upon hearing Su Jiaojiao's inquiry, Luoyang quickly nodded heavily at her and slowly spoke up to explain. Miss Su, you and I are like old friends at first sight, so I hope you can be safe. Moreover, even if there is this red line, it may not be able to suppress this monster. When he said these words, Luoyang unconsciously let out a long sigh, with a worried expression on his face. Upon hearing Luoyang's words, Su Jiaojiao suddenly felt a wave of panic, and the next second, she instinctively asked Luoyang a question. If this red line doesn't work, what should I do? Upon hearing Su Jiaojiao's inquiry, Luoyang hesitated for a moment before returning to her with a serious expression. If the red line doesn't work, that means this monster is not insignificant. Only Mr. Yin and Yang like me can take action with great magic. Get rid of this monster. When he said this, Luoyang had a righteous expression on his face. On the other side, Su Jiaojiao, upon hearing Luoyang's words, was also slightly stunned for a moment, although she still felt that Luoyang was too young and a bit unreliable. But Luoyang's appearance at this moment still made her unconsciously grip tightly with her tender white hands, the red thread in her hand. After a few breaths, Su Jiaojiao pondered a little and then asked Luoyang with a serious expression. Brother, are you confident in getting rid of this monster? Upon hearing Su Jiaojiao's inquiry, Luoyang first let out a long sigh, then shook his head heavily with a serious expression on his face. I'm not sure either. Slaying demons and eliminating demons is extremely dangerous and unpredictable. One carelessness is the result of being completely eliminated. Speaking of which, there was a slight pause, and the next second, Luoyang showed a righteous and resolute demeanor and said in a deep voice to Su Jiaojiao. But this is also our duty as practitioners. Even if this monster is more dangerous, as long as Sister Su needs it. I just put in this kind of Taoist profession and don't want it. I will also eliminate this monster for you and protect your safety. Luoyang's words stunned Su Jiaojiao for a moment. The next second, she stared blankly at Luoyang in front of her and instinctively nodded. How can I contact you, brother? Besides, I don't know your name yet. Upon hearing Su Jiaojiao's words, Luoyang's heart was instantly filled with joy. However, he did not show it. The next second, Luoyang continued to look at Su Jiaojiao with a serious expression on his face. Sister Su, my name is Luoyang. We can add a Feishin first, so you can contact me anytime. Looking at Su Jiaojiao, who was clearly a bit stunned, Luoyang looked serious and slowly took out her phone after a moment. After returning home, Luoyang instinctively looked up at the time. At this point, it was almost 9 p.m. In fact, Luoyang didn't know how much effect his recent deception towards Su Jiaojiao could have. But after all, this is the first business deal, and Luoyang didn't actually have much hope for it. In order to gain the trust of the customers, he even made some special investments. That red line is just a bait. There's no way. Luoyang is very short of money now. For him, money now is as important as his life. Because of all his remaining assets, combined with a small loan of over 30,000 yuan, he only bought 2 medicinal herbs for medicinal bathing in total. On average, over 20,000 yuan. That's it, the simplest medicinal bath material. And this is only enough for him to use twice. It can be imagined. How expensive is it to practice the Luoyang technique by taking a medicinal bath? This belongs to pure gold cultivation. Now Luoyang's whole body is less than 500 yuan left. But there's no way. This Luoyang technique is directly related to Luoyang's life. The speed of cultivation should be as fast as possible. Luoyang dared not delay at all, so he urgently needed a large amount of money. On Su Jiaojiao's side, even a potential customer. And the best of both worlds, Luoyang can also ask her to help experiment with the effect of the red line. Why not do this? After returning home, Luoyang began preparing for a medicinal bath. A wooden bucket for taking a medicinal bath is not very easy to find in modern times. Luoyang is planning to use his family's bathtub as a replacement, and he thinks this one might work as well. After a moment, Luoyang slowly walked into the bathroom, carrying the medicinal herbs afterwards. Luoyang adjusted the hot water in the bathtub and placed several hot water kettles next to the bathtub for temporary heating of water. This medicinal bath takes a whole night, it really costs a lot of water and electricity. At least this bathtub should continue to work, constantly burning hot water. After preparing, Luoyang found a spacious spot in the living room to practice the forging technique of the Luoyang technique. According to the Luoyang technique, after practicing the body forging technique, when the body is sweating profusely, immediately engage in medicinal bath cultivation, which can achieve twice the result with half the effort. Luoyang is ready to give it a try. Following the painting of the forging technique in the Luoyang technique, Luoyang quickly began to practice synchronously, speaking of which, this body forging technique is a bit like a game of 5 birds, but the difficulty is much higher. After performing several movements in a row, within a few minutes, Luoyang's back was already slightly wet. At 9 o'clock in the evening, it is the time for evening self-studying class break at Chaoyang High School. As soon as the bell rang for the end of class, the students who had been restless for a long time left the classroom like a swarm of bees. Xiao Wei, what do you say? Why don't you give me a few masturbations? Let's go, let's go. We must go to Silver 5 tonight. Xiao Nan, will you go? That's necessary. The internet cafe has been sitting 3 times and has never won. We need to hurry up. The dormitory will close at 11 o'clock. Run faster and you should be able to play for 2 hours. I saw 3 boys carrying backpacks and running out of the teaching building quickly. They were running outside while chatting excitedly. Suddenly, one of the boys stopped slowly. The next second, he spoke anxiously to the 2 male voices beside him. Oh my! My phone seems to have left in the classroom. I need to go back and get it. You two, wait for me here first. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay, then hurry up and go. Upon hearing the boy's words, the other 2 were not in a hurry either. After seeing him leave, the 2 of them stopped and stood at the school gate, looking around with interest at the beautiful female students passing by. At this moment, the excited students had already run out of the campus, leaving only a few resident students on campus. Chaoyang High School is a U-shaped building structure, with the innermost building being the teaching building and the 2 adjacent buildings being dormitories for male and female students. They are all 5-story structures, with 3 buildings tightly attached to each other, but not interconnected. Each building has independent gates and stairs. There are not many students living on campus at Chaoyang High School. When Xiao Wei walked past the male and female dormitories, he even scanned casually with his eyes on both sides. I saw that less than half of the rooms in the male dormitory were lit, while there were even fewer rooms in the female dormitory, with only 1/3 of the rooms lit. After walking through the dormitory, it was the all-black teaching building. The 5-story teaching building is now pitch black with every window. The evening self-study lasted only 10 minutes after class, and the entire building turned off its lights. These people are too fast, right? Xiao Wei unconsciously rose, then walked into the teaching building in the dark. Oh my goodness. As soon as he entered the door, Xiao Wei was startled because there happened to be a male classmate walking out of the darkness. The male classmate was also quite frightened at this moment. I was scared to death. Why did these people turn off the lights so early? When I went downstairs just now, I almost fell. Upon hearing about the experiences of that male classmate, it was discovered that he was also a victim. Xiao Wei suddenly felt more balanced, so he didn't pay too much attention, but continued to walk inside. Tap. Tap. Silence, very quiet. Apart from Xiao Wei's own footsteps, there was no other sound in the entire teaching building. The faint cries of students coming from afar outside the school have gradually decreased over time. The male classmate just now is probably the last student to leave. At this moment, there was only a faint blue moonlight in the teaching building, slowly reflecting the contours of the hallway and classroom in the pitch-black teaching building. Looking at the scene in front of him, Xiao Wei unconsciously swallowed a mouthful of saliva. This is the first time he has discovered it. The teaching building where classes are held every day looks so scary at night. Fortunately, the classroom is on the second floor. In his heart, Xiao Wei secretly comforted himself by saying subsequently, Xiao Wei touched the darkness and cautiously walked up the stairs to the second floor. Tap. Tap. After reaching the second floor, Xiao Wei slowly walked to the second classroom on his left side under the faint moonlight, class 13 of the year. That is Xiao Wei's class. Upon seeing this, Xiao Wei quickly took a deep breath and quickly rushed into the classroom. As soon as he entered the classroom, Xiao Wei unconsciously breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, he secretly accelerated his pace, wanting to leave the teaching building that looked very scary that night as soon as possible. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tap. Tap. Under the faint moonlight, Xiao Wei quickly found his seat. Then Xiao Wei lowered his head, reached out his hand, and carefully rummaged through the desk. However, a few breaths passed. Xiao Wei couldn't find his phone. Why not? Xiao Wei feels strange. Flipping back and forth, the tactile sensation he received from his hands was always something like books. But what about his phone? The wheels. Suddenly. In the quiet classroom, suddenly there was a sound of things rolling. What is it? Xiao Wei was startled and his hair stood up all over his body. He quickly lifted his head and nervously looked around. However, wherever Xiao Wei's gaze could reach, there is no abnormality in the empty classroom here. It's still quiet. Is it my hallucination? Xiao Wei thought with some confusion. At this moment, a few drops of cold sweat unconsciously left on his forehead. We need to speed up now. Xiao Wei suddenly felt a little uneasy in his heart. After a slight pause, he quickly reached out his hand again and continued to quickly search inside the desk, the wheels. Suddenly, the rolling sound rang out again. And this time, it's right in his ear. Very close. Very close. Next up, there was another pop sound, a slight movement. Xiao Wei feels something hit his right foot. He instinctively lowered his head to look. That's a human head. A bloody head. Xiao Wei's eyes were about to crack, and his scalp was about to explode. However, before Xiao Wei could speak out, suddenly, with a swish, countless, pitch-black arms sprang out of the desk beneath him. And the next second, they held on to Xiao Wei tightly. Next up, accompanied by a loud bang. Bang. Bang sound. After a moment, the classroom became incredibly quiet again. Here. It seems like nothing has happened just now. On the class sign at the entrance of this classroom, I don't know when it started. Surprisingly, there was an extra payment, and now what is displayed above is 13 classes in 2 years. At the entrance of Chaoyang Middle School, 2 boys are daydreaming. Suddenly, they suddenly hit each other cleverly. It's like suddenly coming back to my senses. And the next second, one of the boys, facing the other boy, said excitedly, "Hey! What are we fooling around here? Hurry up and leave, the internet cafe will run out of machines soon. Upon hearing this, another boy quickly replied with an excited expression on his face. Yeah. What are we standing here for? Let's walk around. Today I'm going to get angry with Silver 5. After speaking, the two boys happily ran to the internet just. At this moment, they forgot just now when I walked out of the teaching building, there were only 3 people in their group at this moment. It seems that, in their hearts, they have also lost the traces of Xiao Wei. End of this chapter.